so it almost blew away.
Oh, gosh.
Yes. Oh, no kidding. He's a lovely guy. Oh, you're kidding. Well, so Reverend Campbell, who was a friend of mine, is retiring and leaving there. I didn't realize that they were. No, I mean it's happened. It's happened before, and it happens every once in a while. And usually the church is owned by the diocese, right? And so then the diocese decides what it's ultimately going to do. And obviously, oh God, I hope that's not really the case. That church is even a couple years older than our synagogue. It's not like this is the oldest church in Sag Harbor, but oh, that's really heartbreaking. Something tells me, though, I mean, just for whatever it's worth to your friends, because he's a very talented guy, my guess is that around here that the churches could probably use somebody with his talents. But it's just, yeah, well, thank you for telling me. I'll keep an ear out for things, and I'll try to find out what's actually going on. But that would really be. Yeah, that's the way that it used to be. I don't know for the Whalers Church whether the pastor has there's a fancy word for it. It's lovely to see. You don't have to stand, Ellen. It's just lovely. It's lovely to see you both. I know, and I'm used to seeing you more on the bike, around the neighborhood, but I haven't seen you in a while. I guess the weather hasn't been allowing of it, but yeah, I Okay, well, we're looking forward to seeing you then. We'll have to time it where I'm taking Emmett and Stuart for a walk, We'll have to time it where I'm taking the baby and the dog for a walk. That's the real reason I've become sort of a semi-celebrity in my neighborhood, not because of me, but because of, adorable child and adorable dog seem to go very far. It's always actually really sort of a funny thing because it's never the first conversation, but like 3 conversations in with neighbors that they put together that I'm the rabbi. And then it's very wonderful, right? Because I get this, somebody told me they're interested in learning about Kabbalah. I said, it's not my area of expertise, but I'll do what I can to help you. And, it's very sweet. It's actually all the stuff, that Neil was talking to me about when I first came out here. I was just talking to Lauren about it, right? Because let's just put it this way. It would probably be a little bit less expensive to live just outside of Sag Harbor in some direction or another, right? It's tough to be in this area. But Neil said to me very clearly, he said, if you're going to be the rabbi of Sag Harbor, you really need to live in Sag Harbor so that when you go down the street, right? As a matter of fact, I almost yelled out of the car to say hello to Lanskowski's. I passed by you on the street, on Main Street the other day, and I had this compulsion to roll down the window, but I thought that was unbecoming. So I'm very glad to see you, so I could tell you that I saw you the other day. But, but that's it. It's such a neighborhood thing, right? Which is such a wonderfully unique part of this experience. Okay, and it's 6:00. It is lovely to see you as well. It's lovely to see all of you, and to wish you all a Shabbat Shalom, and to wish our friends watching at home a Shabbat Shalom. I'm going to assume, since I haven't gotten any texts, that it must all be working properly, so that's a good thing. And it's great to be here with Cantor Lauren, and we're going to get started with a nigun.
Yeah. So we're going to learn a new nigun. You may know it already, but it's new to me, and it's new to me in this community.
It's a nice way to start Shabbat, I think. So actually this evening we're going to get a little bit of something new, and a reminder that one of the great joys of having student cantors, as Lauren is one of a long line of wonderful student cantors we have connected with through HUC, through our my alma mater and soon to be Lauren's, that also to bring in new melodies and to bring in new perspectives and to occasionally shake us out a little bit of our normative, not just a little bit. I know everybody's very cautious in that way. So Lauren's prepared a couple of things for us tonight at the beginning of our service, and so we're going to turn it back over to Cantor Lauren, and we'll follow her lead.
Yeah, so the piece that you just learned is a piece by someone named Alana Arian. And tonight I'm wanting to highlight the voices and pieces of female composers in honor of Women's History last month, and also the Women's Seder happening on Sunday. And also tomorrow we will be studying Torah out of the Women's Commentary.
Very nice. So we're going to begin our service with candle lighting on page 120. I'll light and Cantor will help us.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Let us sing unto God a new song. Let us sing unto God a new song. I and I and I. Turn to page 130 in our prayer books. Page 130. One more time. Sing unto God a new song. Let us sing unto God out a new song. Let us sing unto God a new song.
We'll turn now to page 131, Shiru Ladonai, towards the middle of the page in Hebrew.
I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God.
We'll turn now to page 132 at the very bottom of the page, Or Zarua, the last Hebrew paragraph.
Or Zarua la tzadik, uleishay lev simcha. Or Zarua la tzadik, uleishay lev simcha. Simchu tzadikim Adonai, Hodu lezecher kosho. Simchu tzadikim Adonai, Hodu lezecher kosho.
We'll turn now to the top of page 134, Zamru Ladonai.
Zamru Ladonai bechinor vekol zimra. Zamru Ladonai bechinor vekol zimra.
We'll turn now to page 135, Romamu, which is the last paragraph in Hebrew in the middle of the page.
Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kosho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kosho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kosho.
We'll turn now to page 138 for L'chadodi. A reminder, we'll do the first, second, fifth, and ninth paragraphs, and for the last paragraph, we'll rise and face towards the rear of the room.
L'chadodi likrat kala, Elei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmianu el hamiuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shemo tiferet v'tchila. L'chadodi likrat kala, Elei Shabbat nekabela. L'chadodi likrat kala, Elei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu lenecha, Ki mekor haberacha. Merosh mikedem nesucha, Sof maaseh b'machshava tchila. L'chadodi likrat kala, Elei Shabbat nekabela. L'chadodi likrat kala, Elei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, Ki va'orech u'mi'uri, uri shir daveri, Kevod Adonai alayich tchila. L'chadodi likrat kala, Elei Shabbat nekabela. L'chadodi likrat kala, Elei Shabbat nekabela.
We rise and face towards the rear.
Boi v'shalom ha'ateret ba'ala, Gam b'simcha u'b'tzola, Tochen u'nei am segula. Boi chala, boi chala. L'chadodi likrat kala, Elei Shabbat nekabela. L'chadodi likrat kala, bless you, Elei Shabbat nekabela.
Okay, please be seated. We'll turn now to page 140.
Mizmor shir leyom haShabbat. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך העליון ולזמר לשמך העליון לזמור שיר ליום השבת טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך העליון ולזמר לשמך העליון להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות עלי עשור ועלי נבל עלי היגיון בחינות מזמור שיר ליום השבת טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך העליון ולזמר לשמך העליון צדיק אתה מור יפרח כארז בלבנון ישנא שתולים בבית אדוני בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו עוד ינובו מסבה דשנים ועננים יהיו להגיד כי אשר אדוני צורי דלוב לתמו.
Now rise in body or spirit for the Chatzi Kaddish on page 144.
יתקדל ויתקדש שמי רבה
אמן.
ילמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכות יומכות וחיי כל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם המאה יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם יינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירה מעלמה ויאמרו Amen.
Remain standing for the Baruch Hu on page 146.
Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Vaed Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Vaed.
Please be seated. We'll read together in English on the bottom of page 148. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks our evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening.
ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני,
Baruch Shemo.
המעריב הרבים.
Amen.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו למדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, ושופטנו וכולנו, נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך, לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו לאורך ימינו, ובהם נגד יומם ולילה. מאהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני,
Baruch Shemo.
אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד.
Please join me on page 154. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך וקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. Let's read together in English on the top of page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. As we turn to page 158, Mi Chamocha, beginning at the top of the page.
Mi Chamocha.
We'll turn now to page 160, Hashkivenu.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storm. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storm. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, Leshalom. Ve'hamidenu, Shomreinu Lechayim. Ufros aleinu, Sukat Shlomecha. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, Leshalom. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storm.
We'll turn now to page 162, Vishamru at the very top of the page.
Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת מי נפש, שבת מי נפש, שבת מי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Now invite us to rise in body or spirit as we turn to page 164. Cantor Lauren will help us to begin the Amidah together, and then we will continue silently. As always, please go at your own pace.
Adonai sefatay tiftach ufi yagid tilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise.
And everyone who's still standing to please be seated. We'll turn now to page 371 as we offer our Mishaberach, our healing prayer for this evening. In addition to the names in our community that we're thinking of, which I'll mention in a moment, we of course continue to extend our connection to the people of Ukraine, and also this week, of course, to add a connection to our family, our friends in the land of Israel who have endured quite a lot. We'll begin by reading our Mishaberach list, again, as we're turning to page 371. In our community tonight, we're thinking of Debbie Block-Kroll, Gail Gambino, Brad Friedman, Mike Klinghoffer, Chaim Ben Yosef Vachava, Norma Polsak, Dina Batchana, Benzi Tepper, Cecilia Hirsch, Glenn Tinney, Bruce Steger, Chana Ruth Batsara, Sylvia Orn, Chaim Leib, Joyce Weinberg, Jane London, Catherine Guarino, Judy Stern, Miriam Kornfield, Raz Brody, Chana Ruth Batsara, Richard Gambino, Michelle Sawicki, Janice Kurz, David Dowling, Israel Ben Yitzchak, Lorraine Danis, Buddy Kassoff, Shelley Newmark, David Kyle Klotman, Rivka Bat Rachel, Sarah Bat Chana, Moshe Eliezer Ben Sivia, Peretz Ben Yehuda, Leah Bat Naomi, Gedalia Ben Leah, Jane Beard Cass, Amy Cass, Steve Levine, and Devorah Bat Sima. In addition to the names that we just mentioned, we'll also invite those who are in the room with us tonight. If you have names that you'd like to share, we'll start on this side of the room and work towards the rear and then this side. If you have names, please just raise a hand so we acknowledge everyone. And of course, we invite those watching at home to mention the names of their loved ones as well, or those on the Zoom to add names to the chat, as we again turn to page 371 as the cantor leads us in our Mishaberach. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We can take a little break So this week, I know there's a lot going on in the world as a whole. Certainly, Ukraine is considered our major point of attention. But I do want to draw our attention to our homeland, to the state of Israel, to the land of Israel, and to what has been really a very challenging few weeks. And it wouldn't surprise me entirely if some of you did not even know that fact. And that's because the reality is on the regular news stations, regular streams of news that most of us get, these stories were a blip on the radar, largely because, again, our mind is understandably consumed with the war in Ukraine. But it's important that we not lose sight of what's going on in Israel. And really, if we take our attention away at any point, there is a danger of missing quite a lot. So in the last couple of weeks, there have been several terrorist incidents, ones in which lives were taken in Beersheba, in the sort of middle south of the country, in Hadera, and also in Bnei Brak. And from what I understand, I actually missed over the last few months a few other incidents that had taken place on a sort of smaller scale. But in each of these cases, there is, of course, heartbreak, and there is narrative, and there is, as always, and even the words of the Prime Minister, a sense of we will get past this too, as if this has become such an accepted part of the cycle of reality in Israel that it's simply become a thing, and a thing that we'll get over and we'll move past. And of course, to anybody, any of us, that should be heartbreaking, even if that is in fact the reality, even if that is in fact the necessary reality for most Israelis and has been for some time. Because ultimately speaking, terrorism's attempt, its interest, its purpose is to frighten people, is to scare them to the point in which they no longer leave their homes, they don't go to work, in which society falls apart. And of course, that isn't something that's going to succeed, especially in a country like Israel. But the fact that everybody is so primed to accept the normalcy of it is really, again, a heartbreak. Beyond the real serious heartbreak for real, actual people whose actual lives were taken just going to the grocery store, just sitting outside of a bar, right? These are the kinds of things that, again, have been told too many times and too many times over. And my mind immediately thought, actually, of this week's Torah portion. Probably my want as a rabbi that this is the way I think of the world, but it's remarkable how often Torah has something to say about what's going on right now. And this is actually one of the hardest portions in the Torah to read, to learn, to teach. And I'm actually very grateful that Cantor Lauren will be leading Torah study tomorrow as part of our Women's Torah Commentary conversation, because it is that complicated. But one of the main elements of it is this idea of something called tzara'at. Tzara'at is often mistranslated as leprosy, but it's a spiritual affliction that manifests not just on the skin, but can manifest on clothing, in the bricks of a home, and ultimately speaking, can take over an entire community. And certainly our immediate thought is, well, this is about COVID, and we can think about it in terms of COVID. Yes, obviously that's the case. But I'm thinking about it something on a more existential level here, which is to think about the pervasive corrosion of these ideas that continue to animate people who decide that it is going to be their best mechanism for achieving whatever it is they want by going and slaughtering innocent people. Right? That idea, that kernel of an idea, has festered in the human mind since our very beginnings. It is not a sadly unique thing, certainly not to the Palestinian territories. It is in fact something that we see now happening all over the world, and it is the same basic ideology, the same basic sickness. And in the same kind of way as tzara'at, if you don't actually address the incident at its source, if you don't find where it is ultimately coming from, and if you don't excise it, if you don't remove it, it has the capacity, as I said, to take over not just person, but property, to take over entire communities, to ultimately render an entire circumstance or people or place, basically, in our terminology, disconnected from God, which is something that is anathema to us, especially in our own land. And what a heartbreaking reality this ultimately is. Now, here, though, is something to counter that. Okay, this sermon tonight is not just about the terrible things that have happened, but of something else that happened in Israel, which, of course, we saw even less of, in which even fewer people discussed because of these terror acts that were intended very much to draw our attention away from anything that even resembles positive, that even resembles the possibility of a future peace. And that is that in this past week, there was a gathering in Israel of foreign ministers representing certainly Israel and the United States of America, Ambassador Blinken, but also Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed of the United Arab Emirates, Abdul Atif al-Zayani of Bahrain, and Nasser Bourita of Morocco. In other words, the foreign ministers of the country of Morocco, the country of the United Arab Emirates, and the country of Bahrain, all gathered in Israel for a conversation about how to continue to build upon the successes of the Abraham Accords, to strengthen the connections between these countries, and to, in fact, even, as of today, sign a trade deal between the United Arab Emirates and Israel. All of this going on this week, and almost my surprise, I wouldn't be entirely surprised, I won't put you on the spot. How many of us knew that that was happening? Okay, so in a room full of very knowledgeable people, it should have been every one of us. But it wasn't, because that's not the news that we tend to hear. It's not what we focus on. We focus again on this corrosive ideologies, the death, destruction, the megalomaniacs who draw our attention away. But here we have something of a remedy, right? In the same way that when we're talking about the tzara'at and talking about what to deal, the decision to handle tzara'at is not to burn the place down. It is not, although that can be an extreme point, right? Its first intention is to find the source of the problem, to address it, and to bring things back into a place of shleimut, a place of wholeness, a place of peace. And when people work at it, when people actually identify the roots of the problem and work at it, the possibilities are there. They have proven themselves. 10 years ago, 5 years ago, probably 2 years ago, the idea that somebody could stand up and say that the foreign ministers of these countries would be in Israel having a meeting about future relations would have been completely out of anybody's even wildest dreams. Even the most, dovish, lefty, whatever you want to call me, right? Even the most hopeful optimist would not have assumed that was even a possibility. And yet here we are. That's the hope in this. It doesn't bring the lives that have been taken back. It doesn't make things perfect. It doesn't make things and the history go away. It doesn't make the vitriol go away. It's not an immediate fix to anything. But if we don't shout from the mountaintops the successes, the proof that peace is possible, if we don't take the view that something can actually change, and if all we do is profess the idea that we'll get past this most recent incident on to the next one, then we will perpetuate this same reality. We will be in a world of tzara'at constantly. And I think we have to laud and really hold up the people who are putting themselves at great risk to take these first initial steps to prove that it is possible to legitimize the relationship between Arab countries and the State of Israel. And at this point, the list is growing to the point in which there is going to be eventually a minority of countries, of Arab countries, who shun Israel. That is a remarkable shift that is worth celebrating even amongst all of the terrible things that we have seen in the last couple of weeks. And I will make a more emphatic point at the end. In some cases, these acts were generally done by Palestinians who were motivated to act, as I said, in the hopes of changing some paradigm. But what was terribly troubling is that two of them are clearly identified with people who are affiliated with or have intended to affiliate with ISIS, right? With trying to ultimately go and to join the group and instead couldn't. Why are they all of a sudden now acting? What was their focus this week? Why make these attacks? It is not just about the fact that Ramadan is this month and there tends to be a higher chance of attack during that month. It's precisely because of this meeting, because of the good things that were happening, because of the normalcy, right? The normalization of responsibility. This is the main reason why there was a decision this week of all weeks to make these attacks and why they motivated these people to make these attacks. That's my perspective, it's my opinion, but I believe when it's all said and done, that is what we will find is the case. So we can't let that be the narrative, and we have to be the opposite, right? We have to stand up and basically say that we're going to do everything that we can to support whatever efforts are going on, even in a peripheral way, so that eventually we can get to the real conversation, which is between Israelis and Palestinians, in which they can finally come to some agreement that will end all of this senseless violence. We can hope and pray for that day, but in the meanwhile, again, let us celebrate amongst the tears. And let us remind ourselves also of our responsibility to stay connected to what's going on over there, even amongst all of the other tumult, even the things that are going on at home. Do your best. Check an Israeli newspaper at least once a week. Make yourself aware of what's going on. Pick whichever one you like. I have some opinions, but any of them will provide you with at least the basic goings-on of what's happening, again, in our heart, in our homeland, in a place that is deeply connected to all of us in one form or the other. And as I've said many times, we may not be citizens of the State of Israel. I know that I'm not. But that doesn't mean that I don't have a vested interest, a stake, in both protecting it when it is in need of protection and pushing it when it is in need of a certain amount of pushing as well. So we mourn and we hope. And that in reality is our charge. And that is our connection in many ways to the future of the State of Israel. So with that, I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom. And I will invite Cantor Lauren back up to the bima as we rise in body or spirit and turn to page 586 at the very bottom of the page. Again, page 586, Aleinu L'Shabeach. Aleinu L'Shabeach Ladon HaKol Latet Gedula Liotzer Breshit Shelo Asanu Kegoye Haratzot Velo samanu kemishpechot Adama, Shelo samach elkeinu kahem, Vegor aleinu kechol hamonaham, Vanachnu korim, Umishtachavim umodim, Lifnei mehelech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. Now ask those in mourning and those observing yahrzeit to please remain standing. Everyone else may be seated. We first think of those who've passed in our community in recent months. Dr. John Abdrakin, Faith Diskin, Linda Danath, Arlene Eber, Jay Fagan, Ellen Frank, Evelyn Gelb, Chaim Bear Greenwald, Arthur Grossman, Gerald Hirsch, Mark Joseph, Gertrude Katz, Deirdre Klein, Jeanette Kopp, Leo Leibowitz, William Lippman, Audrey Lubo, Sandra Tromberg Luongo, Morty Lynn, Jerry Monroe, Nancy Nagel, Harry Olstein, Geraldine Rosen, Harriet Roth, Jeannie Rubin, Howard Schreier, David Senft, Paul Silver, Marlise Silverberg, Blanche Sklar, Rita Sandra Snyder, Joan Strong Tangzilius, and Matthew Adam Zimmerman. We also mark the yahrzeits that occurred during the last week for Justine Adler, Stephen Benjamin, Kenneth Cohen, Isidore Deshevsky, Shirley Deinitz, Hyman Egelfeld, Saul Fisher, Sandra Friedman, Arthur Gold, Gerald Grant, Arnold Green, Herbert Grossman, Harry Kaplovich, Anna and Sam Katz, David Kelmanson, Hilda Kirschner, Charlotte Neustad, Bernard Richter, Betty Rothbart, Rebecca Schulman, Sophie Sletman, Ira Sloan, Norma Small, Gussie Tanzer, Betty Tuft, and Jacob Wyman. Does anyone else have a name of someone whom you're saying Kaddish that you'd like to share? I'll invite the mourners to rise either here with us or at home and join me on page 598 as we recite the mourners' Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'alma divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon u'v'yamechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. V'agala u'zman kariv v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam le'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yit hadar v'yit aleh v'yit halal shemei dekudsha brichu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen.
Amen.
Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Amen.
Zichronam livracha. May every one of their memories be for a blessing.
Amen.
Please be seated. Good Shabbos, everybody. So a few important announcements. First is to join us for Shabbat services tomorrow, beginning at 9:30. Again, for this time period, we're still Zoom only for Shabbat mornings, or Zoom, I should say, or streaming, website, YouTube, or Facebook channel. And then to please join us again at 12 o'clock tomorrow, as Cantor Lauren is going to be teaching and facilitating our Torah discussion using the Torah, a women's commentary. Cantor, I know has been very hard at work at this, and it's a busy week for Cantor Lauren because also on Sunday at 2 o'clock is our annual Women's Passover Seder, again happening on Zoom this year, hopefully back in person next year. I believe that there's still time to sign up if you haven't already But those that did sign up, if you're here tonight, and those that signed up if you're at home and would like it, there are copies of the Haggadah that was created lovingly by Shelley, I think earlier today, that can be picked up. There is a plastic receptacle on this side of the building. For those that are watching at home, that would be the north side-ish of the Whalers Church. To the right, if you park in the main parking lot. And again, very much thank you to Cantor Lauren, to Shelley, to Leah, and to Myra, who are the committee this year. And just as a very sort of cute aside, the decision completely disconnected from my child's name, at least intentionally, but the two foci of this year are Emet and Shalom, truth and peace, as that happens to be my son's name is Emet Shalom. So here's a little picture of him with a box of matzah, which I took earlier this week, which is pretty adorable. So if you're looking for a good laugh, that's a good one. And also to say thank you to Cantor Lauren for bringing in a few new melodies tonight, and especially bringing in some composers and learning who they are. And again, a connection to how important our experience is with our students here and how much they impact our community here. And I thought it was fantastic. I love those melodies, and maybe we can bring some of those into our more regular rotation for sure. A few other things to highlight. On Monday, Nida Mitzvah will be meeting at 9 o'clock. My class on Abraham Joshua Heschel and his book on the prophets is at 12. Hebrew School is in person at 3:30. Social Justice Committee has its regular meeting on Zoom at 5. Also a reminder that this Tuesday at 6 o'clock, our wonderful friend and now board member Alan Levin will be teaching one of his virtual classes on the holidays of the Jewish year, titled Moadim L'Simcha, Spiritual Practice and the Jewish Holidays, in this case, of course, focusing on Pesach, which is upcoming. Also on Wednesday, Hebrew School will be meeting at 3:30, and then part 3 of our online anti-Semitism course for teens will be at 6 o'clock, and that's open to teens across the East End, so if you're interested or you know anybody who is interested, please help them sign up or contact Shelley for more information. And of course, my Friday class beginning at 9:15. So beyond that, I think those are all of my announcements, and I hope again that we will carry our connection to the land of Israel, our connection also to the people of Ukraine, and not to lose sight of again, our place in all of this stuff, in everything that's going on. It's important. It's important for us to stay connected and thoughtful. And as a last word, I just want to say there was a great idea that was posited last week by some very thoughtful people, that when the weather permits, that we could have what's called a tailgate oneg, which I thought was a brilliant terminology. What it really means is, one of the things we've been missing, obviously, is being able to gather after the service is over, to talk to each other, to make community. And we felt that, this is a good idea. I haven't run it by the board yet. I haven't had my opportunity, but I think they will probably say it's a good idea. And this way, when the weather is nice outside, after we're done with services, we'll all head out there and share a little bit of time together. One last heads up, which you'll get a longer explanation in an email this week from me, but after years of keeping a similar practice with our Misha Berach list, which is basically to keep it in perpetuity, for various reasons, we've decided that it's time to start afresh and to give an opportunity to make sure that the names that are on our list are, again, still with us and still connected, which is, again, some of us is inherited from 7 years ago when I first took the pulpit. And also to give an opportunity, hopefully, for me to stay a little bit more in the know when people need a little bit of extra attention and care. So I'm going to set up a way to share this information that's completely confidential, come directly to me. If you want to add names that will be publicly read, if you want names just to be held in my heart as I say the blessing. Again, all this will be explained in an email, but just so that there isn't any surprise. And certainly not for anybody to worry that's already on the list, where nobody is getting bumped off or anything like that. It just means a refresh. So we're going to have, people sending in the names, as it were, but I promise it will be as easy as can be, and will even be backup for those that are less computer-oriented, can always call and leave a message, and we'll make sure that that's taken care of. So with all of that, again, I'll wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom. We'll have a closing song with Cantor Lauren, and we'll do Kiddush.
Let us sing unto God a new song. Let us sing unto God a new song. Hi-ya-nai, hi-na-nai, hi-ya-nai, hi-ya-nai, hi-hi-hi-nai. God. Let us sing unto God, sing unto God a new song. Let us sing unto God, sing unto God a new song.
But everyone who's with us to rise as we turn to page 123 for Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam b'horei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava u'b'ratzon inchilanu zikaron l'maseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh Zecher Yetziat Mitzrayim, Kivanu B'chata, Ve'otanu Kidashta, Mikol Ha'amim, Ve'shabbat Kodshecha, Ve'ahava u'ratzon enchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen.
L'chaim.
L'chaim to all of you, a Shabbat Shalom, and hopefully in a couple of weeks, Tailgate Onek. I think, which is great. All right, good Shabbos, everybody. Shabbat Shalom to all those watching. And Cantor, we'll turn off our mics here and